Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, this is Jacek Sputnik, and today we are talking about Fuji S10, no, X-T30 Mark II. X-T30 Mark II is the hero of the day, and I've been testing it for last weeks, and I gotta say I love this camera. It's a wonderful camera to use, and it's a beautiful camera, as you can see right now. However, it's not a flawless camera, and I think this is obvious out of the box, and I would say if you are up for lifestyle and beautiful looking type of camera, this camera is definitely for you. If you want something more practical and you want to stay with Fuji, then probably XS10 is better choice because of IBIS. However, let's talk about this beautiful little guy, X-T30 Mark II, and how can I say that this is Mark II? Only here on the battery compartment, you see on the sticker here, you can see that this is Mark II. And that's it. Okay, let's talk about ergonomy. And ergonomically, it's what you would expect of classic Fujifilm cameras. So everything is like outside that you can have. So you have like switch between manual and single and continuous focus. You have mode switch. You have aperture value. You have f-stop on lenses in most cases. You have exposition correction. Then you have like this classic on and off switch that I'm not in love too much because it's easy to switch it on and switch it off accidentally. However, it's not a big deal. And you have two rotators here, one on the back, one on the front. And this is great because you can, by switching everything to automatic mode, it's not really automatic mode, but you can switch it to auto here and auto here. And then f-stop and shutter speed can be adjusted here, so you can kind of tweak it according to your need, to your workflow, and this is great. One thing that I didn't see a lot of people mention is that you can also press these rotators here, back on back and on front, and thanks to that you can switch from, for example, shutter speed to aperture value, and set everything with just one ring. So that's pretty cool. When it comes to connectivity, it's not bad because you have a very fast USB-C that you can charge with and you can download photos with. You have micro HDMI and very strange choice of jack input, which is 2.5mm jack input, which is like, can someone explain me why? I mean, you will need converter or you will need to invest in special cable. Like I used my Audio-Technica cable that I had with headphones, and thanks to that I could use my external microphones without headphones, but without converter. So, but that's kind of strange. The other thing that I don't like too much about the solution that I don't like too much is that tripod mount is located just next to battery compartment, which is not ideal because anytime you want to change battery or change SD card, you just have to unscrew your tripod mount, tripod mount, and this is not ideal. So like if next time you can put it here so that it doesn't obscure the battery compartment, this would be great. The grip is not too deep, it's not deep at all, but I mean, this camera is comfortable to hold. I don't care about grip and this kind of stuff too much because this camera is light, it's small, it's nice, it's beautifully made, and it looks very classic retro, and it's a pleasure to use. So I won't be complaining too much because you can forgive a lot of things to this handsome guy, Okay, now let's talk about the most important thing about image quality. And many of you may say like, but the image quality, what to talk about? It's the same as the X-T Mark I. However, if you haven't seen the review of X-T30 Mark I, then you are definitely on a good channel, because I'm going to show you some of the photos and some of the videos and how this camera performs in real life. So let's start with autofocus system. Autofocus system, I'm not in love with it. Okay, honestly, like I use Sony system and it's very intuitive. Even when I switch to Canon, it's very intuitive. Nikon is very intuitive, and I can immediately find my way through. Of course, I feel best with Sony because this is the system I use personally, but But having said that, like there are a lot of systems, even like Olympus, that is like OMD now, and you know, they changed the name, or Panasonic. I can easily switch to their autofocus system. Here is like, it needs some time, it needs adjustment. Like Fuji is different. It's like Citroen among the cars, you know? So focus system, I'm not very much in love with it. It's okay. It's okay for photography reasons, which I feel this camera is mainly for photographers, honestly. It's really good. It's performing pretty cool, both with native lens like this 23mm Fujinon f2, or with Viltrox lenses that I'll be reviewing on this channel pretty soon for Fuji system. It works okay. It's not perfect. I mean, laboratory tests show that this autofocus system is accurate and fast. However, in real life, you have to really adjust to it to make it work for you and not to lose shots. However, I wouldn't call it deal breaker, and if you are planning, which I should mention in maybe video mode, like section of this review, but if you're planning to use external recorders, autofocus system doesn't work too well. So, I mean, 10-bit 4K 422 is a nice thing to have. However, you have to be aware of the fact that with external recorder, this focus doesn't work too well, and it's kind of tricky. So that's like my observation, so be careful with that. Okay, let's move on. Well, photography-wise, this camera is really cool, and this is where this camera shines. I feel like this is an amazing, or not amazing, but really good photography camera for those who love photography, for those who love the style, for those who love to travel with small, nice and versatile tool. This camera is really cool. No in-body stabilization, but in case of photography, to me it's not a big deal, because you can always crank ISO a little bit or just open the aperture and you should be fine. And you can take a look at some photos we made both, my wife in Seville. She went to Seville with friends and she took some photos while I was recording some other stuff for YouTube. I took some photos in Faro, in the town or city, let's call it city, that we live in. And it was a pleasure. You know, you can see for yourself that both processed and unprocessed photos, they already look great. The colors are beautiful, like you would expect from Fuji. You have film simulations, you have pretty nice dynamic range, so I'm very happy with that camera. However, when it comes to portraits, you have to be very aware of the fact that you should not overexpose those photos too much, because I feel like, you know, it's easy to have, you know, burned out highlights, as you can see on the picture right now of my wife. And even me standing by the window pane, like on Praia de Faro, like Faro Beach, you can see that it's easy to lose details and skin tones and so on and so on. So from my experience, it's better to stop it down a little bit, like 2.2, 2.8, and underexposed by 0.3, so you are safe, and then you can save yourself in post, because the dynamic range and shadows look good. When we are talking about shadows looking good, dynamic range and all this stuff, let's talk about high ISO. So I tested like all the range all to, I don't know, I think it's the maximum is 52,000 or something. This is crazy. I never used those, and I don't think any one of you would use it in any case. I don't know what somebody would use this kind of ridiculous values for, but if you're up for it, you can see for yourself that 6400 is, to me, very usable. It's still very good. Anything above that, it starts to be really grainy. However, this camera is surprising for APS-C, for crop sensor, that it's performing very well. And when you take a look at the dark parts of the picture, when you drag the shadows slider up in post-production, the grain that it produces is pretty even. The structure is very even, so it's easy to reduce this noise in post-production. So this is something that works very well with that camera. All in all, it's a lot of fun to use it. You have this quick menu button where you can easy access a lot of settings. You can switch like face tracking on and off. It's not the most intuitive camera, once again, very important to say, because before you go for a session, you want definitely to adjust to Fuji system. So if you haven't worked with Fuji too much in your life, then definitely give it some time to sink in. Now let's switch to video mode, and in video mode, this camera is really cool. The only flaw really is like lack of IBIS, but otherwise it's great. 4K, 200 megabits, 24, 30 frames per second, and it really looks good. And you have this film simulation, so you can actually use those videos without post-production, just tweaking it inside of the camera, so you can take a look at yourself for yourself, like if you like some of those looks. You have also like flat profiles, which is great to have. Internally, it records 8-bit 422, which is okay, and this is like internal recorder. This is like from internal like recording. Those samples are from internal recording, so from SD card. However, you can use external recorders, and really it looks very good. However, autofocus performance with external recorder is kind of I wouldn't recommend to use it at all, honestly. Like it's not working too good. It's not working too good. I don't know why. Maybe we did something wrong with settings. Once again, like Fuji is not the system that I work a lot with, so maybe I didn't know something, but it seems to me that with external recorder, this Fuji is not working too great. You also have slow motion, which is a very cool feature, 240 frames per second. It looks kind of soft, but it's not bad, and it's great for, epic B-roll. So if you want some epic B-roll for your YouTube channel, definitely it's okay. It's not great, but I wouldn't, be bothered too much with it. Then when it comes high ISO, again, the same as in photography, you can see for yourself 3200 and 6400. 6400 is still okay, anything above that starts to be too grainy to me for my taste, but of course you can have different standards, so you can check for yourself if you like this grain or not. Then not rolling shutter not, but rolling shutter is actually pretty cool with this camera. It's not really very visible, so that's something really cool. However, when it comes to focus breathing, of course it will depend a lot with the lens, but with native 23mm f2.0 Fujinon lens, focus breathing is visible. It's not horrible, it's not great, it's just okay. So it's for lifestyle kind of shots where you want to switch focus from one object to another and you're not doing anything crazy, this will work fine. However, focus breathing is visible, and I wanted you to know. The main problem with video mode is that it doesn't have IBIS, it doesn't have stabilization in camera. You will need to use stabilized lenses, and when compared to S10, for videographers, definitely will be better choice, and that's it. However, probably Fuji heard the voices of users, and they know that basically this camera is overpriced because it should be actually cheaper than SX10, which is theoretically less premium because it's more like a modern, mirrorless camera with less of these, buttons and rotators on the body, but honestly, I don't care too much personally. So I would prefer to have IBIS in camera, and XS10 would be my choice for videography. However, having said that, they know, they probably noticed that. Oh, by the way, did I mention this sexy flash? No? However, they know that, and you can buy this camera on promotion right now. There's a lot of shops where it gets some price cuts, and now the price got lower than XS10, which makes a total sense to me, because paying more for camera that just received an updated LCD, and like bigger buffer is, you know what I mean, right? It's not enough difference to me. However, still, as I said, to conclude and not to make this video too long, this is a great camera for photographers. This camera also features some really advanced video features. It can be used with external recorder and give you 10-bit recordings, which is really, really cool. 240 frames per second slow motion can look really epic. You have these film simulations, you have a lot of these, you know, buttons and, you know, classic controls that if you like retro look, this camera is really cool. And basically it's so nice to travel with this camera, to take it to different places and, you know, enjoy the feeling of it, enjoy the visual aspect of it, that it's basically beautiful. So if you like to have nice things around you and you want everything to look cool and, you know, have this, you know, stylish look, then Fuji X-T30 Mark II is definitely a camera that you would like to look at. But if you like more, you know, practical approach to things, XS10 would be probably a better choice. Okay, I hope you guys enjoyed this review of X-T30 Mark II. Please don't forget to leave thumbs up. Please don't forget to subscribe, leave comments below, and I see you guys in the next one.